sure. Well, that's, you know, when I think about my life, it's, you know, the things that I get probably the most worked up about, and the things that I like, the things that keep you up at night, as long as they're good things.
Yeah.
You're like, that's, you know, not a bad thing.
Yeah,
So at least you're
good
excited.
problems to have.
Yeah. If you got a pulse, you know, you should be excited about something, I guess.
Right.
So, well, thanks so much for coming out. I appreciate you making it out here. And
Absolutely.
I've just been excited to get to know your story.
Yeah. And I said it came at a perfect time, because I'm going to be starting to try to do more of this as, you know, the whole thing kind of, I could never see it in the beginning. Obviously, we'll talk about it, but the way it's all played out with the book, and then I'm using hopefully the proceeds to fund the foundation. It's just all good.
Right. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear
and
all
hopefully
about
some people
that.
Get something out of the book. We'll see. But you'll have to read it and review it for me.
That's right. Hey, well, this will be the testing ground for your intro into getting into more podcasting. And then when that first book comes out, I'm excited to hear the feedback.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be great. Well, I'm super excited for it. Well, Jim, thanks so much for coming out. Everyone starts out with an intro here, so I just wanted to read a quick intro over you, and then we'll get into the interview. This is going to be, you know, one that probably is going to touch a lot of folks. I know there's a lot of people out there looking for inspiration, and I can't think of a better way to start the new year than to hear from a story about yours. You know, everyone's on their reset, as they call it, and I just think that you're the perfect person to have in here doing this. So without further ado, Jim Logan. Every strong story has a beginning that looks ordinary until it isn't. Before today, this guest's experience was known for his resilience. Before his athletic pursuits became a symbol of perseverance, before his story encouraged others, he was simply a man building a life. A husband, a father, a businessman, a man of faith, doing his best to show up for the people who mattered most. Then came a diagnosis that changed everything. A moment that forced him to confront his mortality and decide who he would be in the face of it. What followed was not just a fight for survival, but a transformation. Through unwavering faith, mental fortitude, and relentless discipline, Jim Logan has continued to pursue extraordinary physical and personal challenges, defying expectations along the way and becoming a source of strength and encouragement for others, even as the battle continues. Today, we're going to walk through the life that led him here, the defining moments that shaped him, and what's still ahead, including the story he's preparing to share through his upcoming book. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Evan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope I did you justice.
That's a wonderful intro. I'm really appreciative of that. That's very well said. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've gotten to know you from afar. You know, we've known each other just through family, friends through the years, and gotten to, you know, see each other.
Yeah.
Started to see your story and just kind of been following along, and I've never gotten the chance to really deep dive into, other than a couple of conversations, you know, really what's going on in your life. So I really appreciate you making it out here. You said you were in the pool this morning?
I was going to go into the pool, but the pool was full of kids from the swim teams, the local swim teams. The holiday hours throw you off a little bit, so turns into a day off. So I'll move the swim to tomorrow, and it'll just be a harder day tomorrow.
How many days a week are you swimming?
Usually 2 days a week swimming, 2, maybe 3. There's, you know, you get your swim, bike, run, and you try to do three training sessions each week for each one. So at least 9, usually 10 training sessions per week.
Swim, bike, run,
with one day off. With 1 day off. So some days you'll do, like tomorrow I'll do a indoor bike ride. I'll do an outdoor run, and I'll probably go swimming at the pool beforehand. So it'll be a little mock triathlon to make up for the day that I missed. So.
Right. I feel like swimming is always the hardest for me just because I don't know how to swim.
Yeah,
I'm not very hydrodynamic, so it just makes the effort.
It's counterintuitive. So if you want to go fast, you got to slow down. You have to relax in the water. Otherwise, you're fighting it. You see people splashing around, moving. You know, they're moving quick, but they're not going anywhere. A good swimmer looks like a snake just sliding through the water and effortless. You know, you cover more ground with less effort. Is the same objective with the run. It's the same objective with the bike. Cover more ground with less effort.
Right. So Ironman is your thing currently, right? So run, swim, bike.
It's swim, bike, run.
Swim, bike, run.
Swim, bike, run. Always starts with a swim. And it started as just a weekend hobby, just something to do on the weekends to stay physical. I used to go in the gym a lot when I was in my 20s. I was single. So that was what we did back in the 80s. You went to the gym, you know. We didn't have internet or social media or whatever, but that was kind of like a social hangout. These gyms, these mega gyms just started popping up.
One Life.
When I was in the late 70s, early 80s, gyms were places that men usually went. There weren't girls in there for sure, especially not in the free weights. But that just started to happen, with the jazzercise and the aerobics. It was just starting to be good. So I spent a lot of time in the gym lifting weights just to look good. I worked construction, so I stayed pretty fit most of the time. But as I got married, I got bored with being indoors all the time, and I had taken some advice from someone that I respected in the fitness industry who said, go outside and do something. It's like I used to ride a bike, so I bought a bike, and the minute I got on it, I felt like a 10-year-old boy again. Freedom, wind blowing through your hair, the whole thing. So, which naturally led to triathlon. My dad had planted that seed in 1982. I was 17 years old. The Ironman race had only been around for 4 years. It was invented in 1978. So at this point, it was only 4 years old, and my dad called me over to the TV to watch these crazy people in Hawaii doing this event. And I thought at that time, I was like, oh, that'd be really cool to do that someday. At the time, it wasn't even a sport. So there was nowhere to go and do it recreationally. Now they're all over the place, so there's a lot easier to get into, find races to do. But back then there was no place to go and do it. But by the time I reached 30 and had just been married, they started having local races that you could go to. So I started with the sprints like most people do, which is a 600-meter swim, 12, maybe 15-mile bike ride, and then a 3-mile run, a 5K.
Right.
Sounds easy, but in reality, it's a little harder than you would think. The next step up is Olympic distance, which is a 1,500-meter swim, 1 mile, 25-mile bike, or 30, depending if you're international, and then a 10K, 6-mile run. The next jump up is half Ironman, which is 1.2-mile swim, 56-mile bike, 13.1-mile run, half marathon. And then the big one is twice that. It's 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a marathon, 26.2-mile run.
Wow. So your first exposure to any type of triathlon event when you're talking about that TV moment, you said you're about 17, 18?
Yeah. And you may remember it, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but back then, Wide World of Sports was big. We only had 3 channels. And there was a lady named Julie Moss, and she's famous for this. And it was, I think, 1982. It was the time we were watching, and she had reached the end of the race. She could see the finish line was 100 yards away. We call it the dance of the drunken monkey. When your glucose goes away and there's nothing left, you can't take a step forward. So she was wobbling around, falling down, crawling to the finish line.
Right.
And it was just one of those epic sports moments that is etched in history, especially if you're a
triathlete.
I can
see the video in my head.
You'll have to look it up later, and you'll be inspired by it. I'm getting the tingly bumps now just thinking about it, because it's such and that the idea that I'll maybe get to cross that finish line.
Wow.
So I'm taking this training this year. I'm taking very seriously, trying not to miss any workouts, trying to stay focused, even though I'll probably have to have some sort of surgery at some point. It's most likely that will be the case. And if it happens, I hope it happens in March, which is the next opportunity to see if we can reverse the ostomy, which is a result of my last surgery.
Right. Wow.
So
that's a lot going on.
When I look back at 2025, this time last year, I had just had my liver removed, and I was doing radiation, and they had just told me that, cancer had come back already.
Right.
It's disappointing. I allowed myself to only think good thoughts, which is what I would tell people: stay positive, good things will happen. But with cancer, a lot of times you don't get what you want all the time. Maybe you get a little bit of what you want and a lot of what you don't want. So
that was a year
I've learned
ago.
to be cautiously optimistic.
Right.
So I'm optimistic, but I'm also aware of the fact that there's a 50 to 75% chance of recurrence.
Right.
And the way I fight it, in my mind, every step I take on the run, every pedal stroke I take on the bike, every stroke I take in the water is kicking cancer in the ass.
Wow.
So no matter how much it hurts when I'm doing it, no matter how hard it is, which coming back from the last 20 months I didn't realize how much fitness I had lost. In my mind, I can still do the things that I used to do, but in reality, I can't. So coming out of the last surgery, my first 5K was at 22 minutes a mile. An old lady with a peg leg could do that. I mean, that's how slow that is. And it almost killed me.
Wow.
So it's depressing when you do that. It's like, I know where I'm at rock bottom. But the next day it got a little better. And the next day it got a lot better. And then the next thing you know, I'm at 15-minute miles. And now I'm at 13-minute miles.
Wow.
And I've got 10 months to go. So, of course, I'm going to get interrupted with another surgery. And, I'm just going to, what I do is I get up every day and I do my best to be my best. And keep that in mind. It's like, I don't think cancer likes working out. I don't think it likes all this exercise.
Mm-mm. And once you
I don't know if it's true or not, but when I cross the finish line in Kona, that will be the biggest F you to cancer for me. That's me saying, fuck you, cancer.
Absolutely.
You can't. And I've said this, and it'll be in my book, 1 week after diagnosis. So I got diagnosed in April of 24. Out of the blue, no real symptoms other than fatigue, which training for Ironmans, you're tired all the time. Went in, had a colonoscopy. They come out and they're like, yeah, it's stage 4 cancer. I was like, stage 4? I was like, so what do we do? They're like, there's not much you can do. It's terminal. And that was the diagnosis. So I was in shock. I was diagnosed in the first week of April of 24, and I'm scheduled to do Ironman Texas in 3 weeks, April 24th. So I didn't know what to do at this point. It took me about a week to put my head together. And I decided with Kelly to just go to Texas and give it a try. Why not? I may not get another chance. You know what I mean? I'll just do the best I can do. I'm not starting chemo until May 1st, So through the process of just putting things together, I told Kelly, I'm gonna put cancer over there. Basically put it in a box and separate it from me. So the way that I did that was I said to Kelly that cancer has my body. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm going to let the doctors handle that. I'll do what they say. Cancer cannot have my heart because I've given that to Kelly and Luke. Cancer cannot have my mind because that belongs to me. And cancer cannot have my soul because I've given that to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So if you take heart, mind, and soul against cancer, I won. In 18 months, I won.
Wow. That's so inspiring, man. And that's to hear your story. I've gotten to, like I said, talk to you a little bit in and out through that. And for you to be able to just go there with it in your mind and not the opposite, right?
And I hadn't surrendered I hadn't surrendered myself to God or anything at this point. This is the first week. I'm still thinking I can do this.
Right.
This is my philosophy. That it's a nice thing that I just said, but it wasn't enough.
Right.
Because, 6 months in, the chemo was killing me, the cancer was killing me. And I had signed up for another triathlon, Ironman Chattanooga 24, 6 months after Texas. And this is all part of the Just Keep Trying. So the name of the book is Just Keep Trying. I didn't know why I was doing it at the time. All I knew was I couldn't wake up and just sit around my house and wait to die. And I had to just keep trying and doing what I love to do. So if you get a terminal diagnosis and you go home and you think to yourself, a lot of people ask me, well, you got bucket list stuff? You're going to travel? You're going to do this, that, or the other? It's like I gave it some real thought, and I thought, I have the life that I want. Beautiful wife, a tremendous true love relationship, been through a lot together. We're closer than ever. My son's doing very well. Everything's good. And I like the way I'm living. So I'm not going anywhere and I'm not changing anything. And I told Kelly, I was like, swimming's not going to kill me. Cycling's not going to kill me. And running's not going to kill me. Chemo and cancer, maybe, maybe that'll kill me. But those 3 things, I'm going to keep doing those things. Didn't know why, and figured, and this was another mindset thing. So when you sign up for a big race, you always want to get to the finish line. And people ask me all the time, why do you do these ridiculous races, especially if you're not winning or fast? And it's a difficult question to answer. I don't know if I enjoy the pain and suffering or the tremendous challenge or what it is. But for me, it was definitely about the finish line, that sense of accomplishment when you cross the finish line. After cancer, it became about just getting to the start line. So I'm training to get there, and then I'm going to do my best when I get there. I did very poorly in Texas. I got like 70, 80 miles into the bike and had to be, carted off the course. Couldn't go any further. Chattanooga was no better. I was deep into chemo, 30 pounds underweight, level 3 skin infection. Against doctors, advice, I just went and did it anyway. Level 3 skin infection. I'm swimming in the Tennessee River, which is the 4th most polluted river in the. It's like I'm worried about getting killed from the pollution in the river. I can't. It's a race to what's going to kill me first. So, you can choose. You can't choose how you die, but you can choose how you live. And I said, there's a poem that I thought of, and I always liked it. I can't think of the guy's name now. He's from the 1950s, but it says, "I will not go quietly into that good night. I will rage, rage against the dying of the light." And he wrote the poem for his father, who was dying, and he was encouraging him to not go quietly.
Right.
And so I decided I'm not going to go quietly. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing the way I've always done it. And for me, it was a matter of, staying strong, still thinking that I could tackle this thing just myself. I could take the weight. I'm not going to let, and even if you watch my Facebook and all my posts, it was always good and positive. Some people, and it's up to you how you post or whatever, but people don't want to hear about the gory, awful parts of, it's hard to listen to, So I try to spare people that. When people see me strong and brave and courageous and faithful, they don't worry about me. Talk about the most difficult aspect of being diagnosed suddenly with a terminal disease. At 61 years old, 6 feet tall, 185 pounds, and 8.5% body fat. I mean, I'm peaking physically. And really, in a lot of areas of my life, everything was pretty darn good. I like the analogy, and it came to me that Kelly and I had curated this really nice life. If you ever seen a Christmas snow globe, when they're settled on the mantle, you see the beautiful house, light snow all kind of settled around, the kid in the swing set, the dog playing in the yard. It's perfect. And then I feel like, for whatever reason, God was calling me in another direction, reached down and grabbed that snow globe and just shook it up and put it back down. Now it's up to me. How are you going to react? The door's open.
Right.
The path is there. Are you going to walk through it? Are you going to go down the path even though you don't know where it leads and it's scary? It took me shortly before, like I said, I got the news that the tumors had disappeared from my liver, and I knew it was after the Chattanooga Ironman, and I was so disappointed, and I just knew that when you're dying. And the chemo was killing me, the cancer was killing me. They had already told me there's no hope. They said 6 months, 2 years, and it was playing out pretty much just as they said. So when they say 6 months, 2 years, how many of those are good? It's like the last year is going to suck.
Right.
So I felt like I only had that 6 months or whatever amount of months. And I thought Ironman Chattanooga would be my last Ironman. And I was disappointed about that because I didn't like finishing that way. And then I didn't really want to die either. So there's always that. But I had that moment where I couldn't bear the burden any longer. I was by myself, and I just begged God to take the wheel and handle it from here. I said, I'll do whatever's required. I'm done. I can't carry the burden anymore.
What was that moment like?
It wasn't like I didn't. So since my diagnosis, I never until that moment had any kind of emotional breakdown. There were no slight tears, but I stayed stoic. I stayed strong for Kelly, for Luke, for everybody else. I thought that was my job to do that. So I had an emotional release at that point where I surrendered my future, my soul, everything to God. I put it all in your hands. And there was the one Bible verse, and I'm not good at I think it's Matthew 6:34 if I get it correctly, but basically tomorrow will take care of itself. You just focus on what you need to do today. God will take care of the rest. So when you get your snow globe shook up, you could do nothing and it won't get fixed. Or you could try to figure out what you're supposed to do. And I think I had become maybe a bit complacent in my life. There's more that I'm more talented, more capable than just being, I would say selfish, but we're not selfish people, but there's more. There's always more you can do.
Right.
Which led me to, the idea of writing the book, obviously, see if I could help some people there with some of these mindsets and kind of the way that I saw things. But once you make that surrender, you got to do the work. And I think that's true with a lot of people these days. The reason that there's a lot of people that aren't successful, my wife Kelly's in real estate. She gets agents coming in all the time. And one of the things they'll say is, I'm tired of the 9 to 5 and never get ahead this way. I was hoping to have more control over my time, more free time. It's like, just start laughing, because if you're self-employed, free time is hard to come by. Mm-hmm. Most real estate's done after 5 and before 9. If you want your weekends, don't go into real estate.
Right.
Or don't be self-employed, you know what I mean? So,
right.
I forget where I was going with that.
I want to dig more into your, I guess, where your determination and that discipline of your mindset came from.
It's funny because I developed a couple of philosophies, as I'm like kind of an amateur philosopher. So early on, back when Kelly and I first got married, I had a couple of philosophies. One that I've lived by is discipline, sacrifice, suffering, and pain. If you master discipline, you're willing to make the sacrifice, if you're willing to endure the suffering and the pain, you can do anything. And those four elements will usually be connected to anything that matters and is important to you. If you think about some of the greatest accomplishments in your life, for women, it's like childbirth. There's discipline, sacrifice, there's suffering and pain. To be a mother, to go through that, and it's the most joyous thing on earth. So when I gave this philosophy to Kelly, first of all, if you don't have discipline, you can forget the other three.
Right. I've
always been self-employed, so if there's a problem, I have to fix it, or I have to pay someone, and I'm not going to pay anybody. You can't. If you pay everybody to do everything, then you're not doing your thing. So, but it starts with discipline, and then you have to be willing to make the sacrifices. So, if I know I have a long bike ride tomorrow, then there's no margaritas on Friday night. You know what I mean? So, and that's just a little sacrifice. But if you can make those sacrifices, and you have a vision of a grander goal, and I say with triathlon, there's joy and pain, and there's meaning and suffering. You have to get there first to understand that. So I've been asked before, what happens when you get 7-8 hours in and it really starts hurting? I go, this is what I came for. Now we're about to see some enlightenment.
Wow.
Because your mind goes to a different place. I mean, you hear David Goggins talk about it. That's an extreme level. The guy runs with broken feet for 200 miles.
Right.
I'm not that crazy, but there is something, and there's only one way to get there. You've probably seen it before, like out in Arizona, where they sit in these tents and they put themselves through physical duress to get to a certain heightened level of mental clarity or whatever. But in the middle of a long race like that, you'll go through everything in your head. I go through, what the hell am I doing here? Nobody cares if I finish this stupid race. I could quit right now. I suck. I'm at the back of the pack. So they go through that and they're like, stop it, and then you go the other way. So I've been in races where I'm laughing hysterically like a crazy person, and I've also cried hysterically. So in the end, when you cross that finish line, I mean, you are cleansed mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. It's a unique feeling that you have to go through that to get it. And once you get a taste of it, then you want to go get more. So for me, it started as a hobby, turned into an obsession, an addiction to my lifestyle. My house, my office, you got guitars, whatever, you can definitely see, where your interests are. Mine is full of bicycles. I have my Mac Daddy race bike, carbon fiber. It's like $15,000 bicycle. And the funny thing too, you spend $15,000 on a bicycle, it doesn't come with pedals. You got to buy your own pedals. So the pedals are $1,000. They're Garmin pedals that have a chip in them that measure every bit of your stroke, so you can work on your stroke
so when
efficiency.
You're changing gears, it knows exactly.
Well, you think about it. Have you ever ridden a road bike, like the kind you click into?
Not a $15,000 one.
You've ridden bicycles before.
Not a click-in.
Yeah. So the thing about the click-in is you can not only generate forward motion by pushing down, but by pulling up. Okay. That's the whole point.
Right.
Is that you can now pull up on the backside as well as push down on the front side.
So it creates twice the momentum type of thing?
Well, now you can employ power around the entire circumference of the pedal. Instead of just on a regular bike where you're not clicked in, all you can do is the front half. The back is just, you're not getting it. If anything, what most people do on the back is you brake yourself. Because if you have any weight on the back side of the pedal while you're pushing down on the front, your weight of your foot is holding back the back pedal.
Yeah, that's momentum you're
braking yourself. So when I ride my road bike, I don't think about pushing down. I think about pulling up.
Huh.
Pushing down happens naturally. I think up, 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 up.
Wow. That sounds like a killer leg workout.
It's I've learned to love the bicycle a lot. I love it a lot. It's great. And then now they have these indoor trainers, just like everything. Technology's come so far. But everything's $1,000 in this sport minimum, So the Garmin trainer is... I've had it for years now. It just works perfect. It's quiet. I can set my training bike up on the Garmin right in front of my TV. I have my coffee and, remote controls, cell phones, whatever. And you can get that indoor workout and I love riding outdoors, but as you know, the traffic in this area, more and more, I don't even know if you know this, but probably one person a month gets killed riding a bike on the roadways.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
So there's not less cars out there, and people are not learning.
Well, the roads aren't built. I mean, cyclists. There is law that says you're supposed to give them 3 feet, this and that, but common sense would tell you, when you have 6 inches of shoulder, you got the white line and no shoulder, and it's a busy road. If you're a cyclist, you may be technically correct, but you're also going to be in the hospital or dead. So you want to prove your point?
Yeah.
So what I do now is, if I'm going on a long ride, which I will do outdoor long rides on weekends, is I'll go down to the Comet Trail. You familiar with that? It's over there in Smyrna. It's on the west side of Atlanta, and they took railroads and turned them into trails, and it goes all the way to Birmingham.
Oh, wow.
Over 100 miles. No cars, no lights, no nothing, especially once you get out of the city a little bit. So you can just lock in and just go without having to worry about, getting killed. And after cancer and all this stuff I've been through, there's no way I'm dying on a freaking bicycle on the side of the road.
Yeah, those are the things that you want to manage, especially. You got enough things trying to kill you right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So what exactly, just so people can kind of know a little bit more about your story with cancer. So what was the actual medical diagnosis?
Well, what's funny about that too is once they diagnosed me with cancer, like a lot of people would dive into the research and know the names and everything. I didn't look at any of it. I've got PhD doctors and stuff that understand all that stuff. I don't look at the scans. I just do what they tell me to do. But if you don't know, and a lot of people don't, I didn't, cancer is named in the organ that it starts in.
Okay.
So mine is colorectal, which is colon rectum, but rectum in particular. And the reason rectal cancer goes from stage 1 to stage 4 so quickly is the lining in the rectum is thinner than the lining in the colon. And so once you have cancer in the rectum, it's easy to jump off, and it almost always goes straight to the liver.
Okay.
So every other stage other than stage 4, the cancer is still in the organ where it started. Stage 4 means that it's moved to another organ. So mine was stage 4 because it was in my rectum, and it also had moved to my liver.
Wow.
The reason it becomes terminal is they can't do surgeries to remove the tumors. So what I was told is they can't remove the primary until they take care of the secondary. Chemo and radiation are really good at slowing it down, but it doesn't get rid of it. You eventually have to cut it out, and you have to get to a place where you can do that. So with my liver, you only have one liver. If it was a lung, they could take one. A kidney, they can take one. Colon, you can play with that all day long. I said rectum. There's certain things you just don't need.
Right.
But the liver is a pretty important organ. It's funny. It's the size of a football. And I always say the liver is basically the quarterback of your organs. Everything goes through the liver, and then it distributes out to all the other organs. So that's pretty critical organ. They cut me up nice. I'm cut from, you wouldn't even believe. It's pretty good. They don't use stitches anymore. They use glue, so you can barely tell. But
really?
They cut a hole this big. It was like, because it's huge. They have to get that thing out of there.
Yeah, that's absolutely wild, man.
Yeah. So just I'll give you the whole 18 months. 18 months I went stage 4 terminal to no evidence of disease in 18 months. I'm still dealing with some residuals, but no evidence of disease means they can't find any cancer in my body.
Right, and that's your surgery you have coming up. You're still dealing with that, or you might, maybe it's up in the air.
We'll see. Either the ostomy will be permanent, or they will be able to reverse it.
Right.
Either way, I'm fine with whatever the result is because I don't have cancer.
Right.
And this is just basically, I would call it a battle wound from going toe to toe with mankind's most insidious enemy, cancer. But I went stage 4 terminal to no evidence of disease in 18 months. That's pretty quick. And then over that time period, I did 18 chemo treatments, 5 radiation treatments, and the numerous surgeries to include removing 40% of my colon, 60% of my liver, all of my gallbladder, all of my rectum, resulting in the ostomy. All in that time period. Plus, I never stopped training for and competing in Ironman triathlons throughout the whole time. And in the middle of it, decided to write a book with my spare time.
Wow. As if you had one more thing to do.
Well, I think if you just keep yourself busy with positive stuff, and I got involved with the Ironman Foundation too, so I wasn't just racing for me anymore. fundraising became another kind of fourth element: swim, bike, run, fundraise.
Wow.
So now I'm giving back to the community that's given so much to me, and it felt really good. I raised $10,000 for Ironman Florida with just a quick small effort. I wasn't able to go there and race because I had surgery, and my doctor Sullivan said don't do it.
Right.
So I said, all right. I already knew I was going to Kona, because I might not have listened to him, but I already knew I was going to Kona. We went down there anyway, and Ironman set us up with VIP, and so it was cool. I'd never spectated a race before in 40 years. I've never watched a race. I'm always in the race.
Right. So tell me more about Kona, like for someone who doesn't know what
Kona is. It's the birthplace of Ironman. So in 1978, they had an open water swim in Hawaii. It was 2.5 miles, and it was a big deal around that area. If you won it, it was a big deal. They had a 100-mile bike ride. Same thing. If you won that, it was a big deal. And then they had the marathon, the Honolulu Marathon. Well, they had a bunch of special forces guys hanging out and all arguing over who's the best athlete. I think it was Admiral somebody or other said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the swim, the bike, and the run in succession. And whoever wins will be known as the Ironman. That's 1978. The first I think had 25 guys in it. And it was just a weekend thing to do. And then it's 4 years later, Julie Moss had that thing in Wide World of Sports, and it just kept building and building. And almost right away, they added women the next year. So that's when I started getting hooked. And me and Kelly have watched it every single year. We watch it every year. And every year, there's so many cool things about the Ironman race. And I'll just start with the fact that I can't think of another sport where amateurs and pros, old and young, men and women, all line up together on the same day. Could you imagine, like in the NFL, if they let a bunch of kids go out there?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't know how you do it in any other sport.
Right.
And only 10% of the field is pros. So Ironman has become so popular now that, especially Hawaii, which is the Mecca, that's the biggest thing that you could ever do. It's so hard to get into because there's only 2,500 people allowed in the race. 1,250 men, 1,250 women, 10% are pros. That leaves about 1,150 men spots.
Wow.
For the millions and millions of people around the world that want to get in.
Right.
Now, the only way you can get in is you're supposed to win in your age group. So if I went to Ironman Chattanooga, I would have to win in the men's 60 to 65.
Right.
And that's your ticket to Kona.
Right.
So you have to win your way in. You have to be already that elite level athlete.
Wow.
So for someone like me, it was not going to happen because I'm not that elite level athlete, and I'm just not. I enjoy the sport, but I'm not up there in the front with these fast guys. Or, you can have some sort of an inspiring story or a tragic story, or in my case, stage 4 cancer, still battling, fighting, doing triathlons, and they let those kind of people in as well, and that's basically how I got in because of my story and what I'm doing. And that's really cool because every year Kelly and I watched the show, we would have this contest, like who's going to cry first, because they always did these little stories, which they're going to do on me.
Wow.
About this person. Like one year they had a mom of seven kids, and she trains for triathlons and she does charity work, and she's just this amazing woman, and she lives in obscurity. She's a middle of the packer like me. Nobody knows her name, whatever, but she still does this, gets up at 4 a.m. to get her workouts in before she handles her kids. Dedicated, devoted, just, salt of the earth, beautiful woman. And she gets hit by a car, hit and run, left on the side of the road, broken back, broken neck, broken this, broken that. And she comes back from it, gets back on the bike, and gets back and finishes the race, a year or two. And Ironman obviously facilitated all of that to give them a chance. So the Ironman motto is anything is possible. And they leave room in the race every year for people to prove it. This year, I'm going there to prove it, that anything is possible.
Absolutely. What an awesome opportunity,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, and you think an Ironman triathlete would be just, like the pros, all totally fit, lean, muscular. But when you go to a race, you'll find that it's every shape, color, size. I've been passed before by a 300-pound woman.
Wow.
On the bike. I'm like, I guess there's fitness in there somewhere.
Yeah,
you can't judge a book by its cover. She's out here, she's doing it.
Wow.
And I love that part of it, that it's so inclusive, and that 90% of the field is age groupers that really support the sport. I mean, without them, there really wouldn't be, it wouldn't be what it is. And it just makes it so unique on that level.
Wow.
And then to get involved with the Ironman Foundation. So when Ironman comes into a community, it's a tremendous windfall for wherever they go. When we were down in Houston, I was talking to Ironman Texas. I was talking to an elected official, and he said it's their biggest moneymaker, not the PGA, not any of this other stuff. Because what happens is when you go to town for an Ironman, I bring 8 or 10 people with me. My entourage is growing every year. I might have 30 people in Hawaii.
Right.
And so you're not just going by yourself, and you're going for usually 4 or 5 days. So it's not an in and out. You're going to be there all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tremendous windfall for the community, and everybody loves having them around. A few people don't like the traffic, but what are you going to do, you know?
Right.
But then the Ironman Foundation, which has been around for over 20 years, they've delivered over $60 million to 10,000 different charities in the communities where they race. So in Panama City, I raised $10,000. After they leave Panama City and the Ironman is, taken off and moved away, that money will continue to be distributed into that community.
Wow.
To do things that other charities don't do. So lots of good charities out there. Like if you think about Wounded Warriors, and there's 100 of those Wounded Warrior charities or cancer charities or any number of charities. These guys are doing work that I think nobody else is really doing. For instance, you go into an inner city community where a lot of people don't know how to swim. They'll go in and teach them how to swim. So if you take a weekend and teach a kid how to swim, and they're able to overcome an obstacle they thought previously insurmountable, and now they can swim where before they didn't think they could swim, you didn't just give them the gift of swimming. You gave them the gift of knowing that if there's something that I think is insurmountable, that it is surmountable if I go and ask for help and look for the resources, that those possibilities is the gift that keeps giving.
Wow.
And riding bicycles, I know they, talking with Audra, I think she was talking about in Africa, they gave a bunch of mountain bikes to the community kids that were walking 10 miles a day, and now they're ripping all over the place with these mountain bikes, and as a kid, getting a bicycle was one of my greatest. It felt like freedom. It was almost like getting your license in a car. You know what I mean? Because you could drive away.
Right.
And I just love that they do these things that others aren't doing. Getting kids off the screens, getting them outside, showing them that if you set a goal and you work hard, that what seems insurmountable, anything's possible. And it opens up their mind in a way that, who knows the trajectory is like, can't swim, can't do this, can't do that, can do this, can do that, and then it's two different people.
Wow. Yeah, that when I think about...
It's not measurable.
No. When I think about those two different trajectories, I think of your story, right? You have the route you could have gone down, let that thing beat you, don't go back out, don't get back on the bike. It hurts. It sucks. To not be that way and be the exact opposite, and it to have carried you to where you are today. Where did that come from?
A lot of people have asked me, is this something that happened because of cancer? No, I always had it.
Where'd that come from?
So I've always said, people talk about glass half full, glass half empty. Mine isn't either. It's overflowing at all times. I don't see it, one or the other. So I don't know. I just kind of always an optimistic, happy-go-lucky, Irish guy, and I guess I learned early on just hard work. I worked in construction. We got up early every day. We worked hard all day, made a modest living. And you just learn that discipline through that, basically. I mean, I spent 10 years just breaking my back for a very modest living.
Right.
And then, of course, I met Kelly. I was born and raised in New Jersey. We spent most of my formative years there. And then my dad worked for United Parcel Service, and at the time, they were just in the United States back in the 70s and into the early 80s. So they opened up in Japan and then Germany, and we went from Jersey to Pennsylvania to Indiana, over to Germany, where I went to high school. I went to high school at the American International School of Dusseldorf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a great experience. There was only 300 kids in the school. I had like 10 kids in my senior class, like from 9 different countries.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it opened up your mind. So like when you're looking at a history book and you could walk outside and see it, I could get on a train and be in Paris in an hour.
That's wild.
Brussels, whatever. And we did all the time. We hopped on trains and went to, Amsterdam or Paris and it was really, really cool. We got to travel a lot and see some things that, it's one thing to go on vacation. It's another thing to live there.
Yeah, right.
And back then it was East and West Germany.
Wow.
So it was still a split
Yeah.
situation, you know. So
What was that like? Was it like different
it was
rules depending on
super
where you
fun.
were?
I mean, the class of people that were in our school, I mean, we did all right. And, you know, my dad ended up being the vice president of UPS. But these people, filthy rich. We had one kid who got chauffeur driven in a classic Bentley every day. They would drive him up, they let him out of the car, they walk him up to the door, and then the driver would stand in front of the car for 6 hours, 7 hours until the kid came back out.
Wow.
We had some Libyan diplomats. I mean, these kids were driving, at the time, BMW 7 Series and whatnot. So it was a little bit spoiled. My one friend, Kiyoshi Nishijima, his dad was president of Nippon Kokan, Japanese Steel.
Wow.
He got a 300 mark allowance each day. That was his allowance per day. At the time, that was like $150, $175, which in the 1980s
Yeah, it's
was
a chunk of lunch
a
money.
fortune. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you didn't have to pay for anything, you know what I mean? So it was a
Wow.
little, I didn't realize how my life was not going to be like that after that.
Right.
Because I graduated high school at 17, went to Florida, tried to do some college, but it just didn't interest me. And in school, if you couldn't hold my attention, I don't know if I had ADHD. They didn't diagnose it back then. You know, now they give you medicine. Back then, they just beat you up a little bit.
Right.
You know, you act up, you get your ass kicked.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
We'll take the ADHD right out of you.
Right. Right.
Beatings were common. But yeah, so I, at that point, realized school wasn't an option, and I loved being outdoors. So I loved framing houses and taking a pile of lumber and making it into something, you know.
Wow.
I moved here in '93. And it didn't take me long to meet Kelly. So when I met Kelly, I always tell people, if you ever taken a set of magnets and when you turn them the right way, they just go.
Right.
And I didn't realize it at the time, but it was definitely love at first sight because we were pretty much inseparable. And what was funny about it was I didn't want a girlfriend. She didn't want a boyfriend. And we both made that adamant, but we spent every day together.
Yeah, that's how it always starts when you find the right one.
So,
You almost are preparing yourself in the beginning, like you know.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
almost like you know at the beginning. It was similar.
Well,
to my
I was
life, you know?
reluctant. Again, you know, same with the faith. I was reluctant to step into that because I had not imagined myself being married or a family guy. My parents had a rocky relationship. You know, I never really saw them happy together.
Really?
Yeah, and I feel bad for both of them because that's you know, back then you married someone in the neighborhood and you just shut up and. You know, they probably never really loved each other in the first place. You
Just
know,
kind of deal with each other. That was it. That type of situation.
It wasn't anything like violent or terrible. Neither one of my parents drank or anything. It's just you know, a loveless marriage means no hugs, no kisses. So you don't have that model. So I was not affectionate. I wasn't intimate. I wasn't open to relationships. It makes it difficult if you don't have that. You know.
Right. So what opened?
And Kelly's
you
the
up?
opposite.
Okay.
She is all love and hugs and just a you know, the opposite. So she kind of drew me out of my out of my emotional stuntedness. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
God knew
and
what
it
you
took
needed.
me it took me a long time. I could have been a better husband early on, and I regret that.
What do you mean by that?
When I look back, I regret that I wasn't you know, more loving, more you know. Huggy, feely, whatever, and I am now. It just took a while to get to that point. And you know, we've been married. It'll be we got married in '96, so I was here in '93. We got together in '94, married in '96, and it's been 30 years. January 26, '96, and you know, it's been ups, downs, back and forth, but we always come through together. And what I tell people is, if you want to measure true love, it's not measured in the good times. It's measured when the shit hits the fan. Is that person going to be there for you unconditionally? You know, and what I learned, I knew it before cancer, but cancer, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'll continue to say it, cancer is the worst thing that ever happened to me and the best thing that ever happened to me. All of my relationships are tight, and I'm comfortable. I don't want to die today or tomorrow, but if it happens, I'm ready for that. I'll walk into heaven with a big smile because I've said what I had to say, I've done what I had to do. There's some things I'd still like to do, but that's not up to me. So the worst and the best. And you can take any situation, as difficult as it may be, and turn it into a silver lining. So think about, you remember Adam Walsh?
I don't know.
Well, his son was kidnapped and brutally murdered by a sick person. And he became famous for advocating for this, and he ended up being on it's a Crime Stoppers show, but America's Most Wanted.
Okay.
He's the host for America's Most Wanted.
Really?
And that's, I guess, goes back to my time. Do you remember the show?
No.
Okay,
yeah.
so he used to come on. This is before the internet.
I've not
Every
seen the
weekend
show.
he'd come on and highlight these criminals that we got to find, and he rounded up a lot of criminals. So yes, he lost his son in a horrible way, but then he turned it into something that saved who knows how many people on the other side. So, and I think that's kind of what God does. He opens the door for you to walk through it, and then if you can read the signs, look for the signs, you'll be directed. If you're going down the wrong trail, you'll probably figure it out pretty quick. So once I had that moment and that epiphany where I said, okay, I'm gonna put everything in God's hands and not worry about this stuff and just do what I need to do. Things started opening up. Doors started opening up. I thought I had done my last triathlon. I immediately decided to sign up for Ironman Florida, where the foundation option was there to raise funds. I said, this feels right. I'll do that too. And then, things just kept getting better and better. It was that summer, maybe July, August, that I got in touch with Audra and got the opportunity to go to Kona, which was my stated goal, for many decades.
Wow.
And then, of course, writing the book. So in March of 24, if you'd have told me all the things that I would do between now and then, I would probably not believe you. I saw this preacher once talking about this. He was so funny. He was from Africa, so he had this great English language, almost not British, but just how they speak perfect English. So he said, wouldn't it be nice if, everyone talks about God's plan. He said, wouldn't it be nice if God just sent you an email each morning, like 6 a.m. Here's the plan for the day.
Right.
Well, now I can't go wrong. I'm going to know exactly what to do. And he said, there's a good reason for that, because if you saw the plan, you might not get out of bed.
Right. Right. Man, that's an interesting perspective when you put it that way. So have you always believed in God? When did you?
No, I was raised Irish Catholic, raised in the church, never doubted God, never doubted any of it, but had drifted away from the church, especially the Catholic Church, because it's so rigid and it just wasn't, I don't know, it just didn't touch me the way that it, I was raised in it though. And a lot of my philosophies, you ask where a lot of these things came from, it's my early childhood, from catechism and church and all those things that I didn't think I was listening to.
Right.
Because a lot of the things I say and a lot of it's all biblical. It's said a little bit different, but it's based on biblical principles. And if you have that, I think it's hard to go wrong. I feel bad for people who aren't raised in the church and don't have that moral foundation. I don't know what you do without it, but I always had it, but I wasn't 100%. And I'll give you another analogy that I heard a preacher talking about. He said, there's a beautiful green field, and right down the field is a white fence. On one side is Satan, and on the other side is Jesus. There's a guy straddling the fence. They're vying for his soul. Devil says, come over here. You could have whatever you want. It's a beautiful thing. You don't have to wait for that nonsense. And Jesus is like, trust me, it's worth waiting for. He said, well, you know what? I'm not going to make my decision right now. I don't think I'll sleep on it. Well, he wakes up and he's dead. And he's looking at the devil. And he says, wait. I didn't make my decision yet. I'm still on the fence. And the devil says, I own the fence. So you're either 100% on Jesus's side or you're not. And that was a kind of a click thing for me, is like, it's not just a matter of convenience or when it's good for me. It has to be 100% of the time, full faith. And that's a really difficult thing I think people struggle with faith. It's like, so we went to the starting point at Brownsbridge to kind of just get back into church and whatever. And I didn't realize, I was excited to be there. I was excited to be back, and everything that had happened to me, I was just full of joy. And a lot of people in the room were bitter and angry and doubtful, and they needed to be coaxed back in. And they're like, why would God do this? And why? I was like, you're missing the premise. You don't have full faith. You're not 100% faithful. And they're like, well, I had my moment because of cancer. A lot of times people have to go to a dark place to find their way out. And that's kind of sad, but there was, that was funny to me, because they were almost angry at God, and that would never cross my mind. I just don't think that's a good idea.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So as a Catholic, you get it drilled into your head. You don't disrespect God, the church, or anything with it or about it. And the priests and the nuns were quick with a ruler too, so they reinforced it.
Right.
But I'm thankful for that my parents did that for me, even though I didn't understand it at the time. So I had that foundation in me, as did Kelly. Same way, she was raised Catholic, and we just had kind of drifted away from being, devout, faithful, 100% of the time, really making that the foundation and the main focus of our lives.
Right. So how does your life look different now that
It's a tremendous relief, because I had carried the weight of the world, the burdens of everything on my shoulders, and now I don't have to do that anymore.
Wow.
Whatever will be, will be. All I need to do is what I need to do today. And I'm anxious and excited to see what comes from all of this, because I know God is working here. I know there's a end result that's going to be, I don't know. That's the excitement of it. And I think that's the excitement of life, is not knowing
right.
what comes next. Now I heard another thing was said that, worrying doesn't solve the problem. It just steals the joy from the day. So don't worry about tomorrow. It's just going to ruin your today.
Right.
If I keep doing the things I'm supposed to be doing, which obviously me competing in Ironmans and going to Kona and writing the book, it's inspirational to some people, but it's keeping me alive. And I don't care how old you are, you can start over, you can reinvent, you can begin again. You talk about born again. I want to go and get baptized. I'm just waiting for the right moment. I missed the last one. I was never a person that I didn't think I needed to get baptized or be born again, because I'd already been baptized as Catholic. I never understood born again until you're born again.
Right.
And then you get it.
Right.
So I am not the same person that I was before. And I've had several of these moments, and I'm sure you have too, where something happens in your life and you're not the same person anymore. So the first such moment for me was marrying Callie. 1 minute I'm a single guy, now I'm a husband. You'll never go back to the other way. Well, hopefully not, but now you're a husband forever. So it's a before and after moment. Next, Luke being born, and then cancer. So you're never the same again. There's no going back. And I wouldn't say I'm a completely different person. I'm more focused. I'm more purposeful. I think I'm just generally happier,
right.
Content. If there's happiness is a funny thing, because you can't be happy all the time. Otherwise it would defeat the purpose of the word. You have to be sad to be happy. You have to have a balance between the two. But I think you can be content with what you're doing.
Right. So somewhere I want to sit and park for just a second. I want to ask you about how it's changed the way your life is. Your answer was joy and contentment. And the reason I want to sit on that a little bit is everybody listening to this, and including myself speaking here, we want that, right? Yeah. And so much of our life and our society is built around, well, we're the ones that ultimately bring that. We have to control every step. We have to. You said the weight of the world you felt was off your shoulders.
Yeah.
So how do you encourage somebody now? How do you explain to them that you actually don't have to carry that weight every day?
Just take stock in your faith. I don't know where each person is at. Like I said, I was 80% of the way there. I was the guy on the fence. And if something happened, who knows? I might get stuck on the wrong side. So take stock in your faith. Take a look at your life. Measure what's important. Go to the people that matter to you and let them know that they matter to you and how you feel. Say what you got to say, do what you got to do, and you will get to that place. I can't say it'll be, an overnight thing. And it's probably not. Anything that happens quickly is probably not worthwhile. Right. It's work, and it's not easy to keep the bad thoughts and the negative thoughts out of your brain. And like I keep saying, faith is really the thing. You have to be fully faithful. And I don't really know how to tell someone to get there. Obviously, cancer was the trigger for me. I would love to be able to tell people that you don't have to wait for a really bad thing. Go to your church, talk to your preacher, talk to some of the leadership, and see if they can help guide you, or people that are already faithful, and see how they got there. I think a lot of times, just if you're caught up in your life, like you were saying, you got a wife, a couple of kids, driving to and from school and events and this and that, and you kind of get lost in the shuffle. You just hit the pause button, sit everybody down, and say, what are we doing? What matters to all of us? These little guys are only little for a little while. And once those years go by, like, the two things I would say when I evaluated my life, and I thought to myself, all right, terminal diagnosis, I thought, what makes a life worth living, and have I done those things? for the most part, I'm pretty happy with my life and the things that I've done. The two things that I thought that I would miss terribly is one, watching my son get married, and two, having grandkids. So we already raised our kids. They're grown up. You're raising yours now. They're going to grow up eventually, and you're going to miss this like a lot. And that's when the grandkids come in. That's why grandparents are always so beloved by the kids, because it's just another level of love. So I would have missed. Those are the things that I thought that I would have missed. But not everybody gets what they want.
Right. But here you are.
Yeah.
Not
well,
out of
that
the
comes
woods.
back again. My faith is so much stronger now because when you lean into it, they say if you take one step toward God, He'll take 10 towards you, and it's absolutely true. But you also have to be aware, look for the signs, and then do the work.
Right.
You got to do the work. So whatever that means, if that means getting back into church and going to Bible studies and talking to people, I think talking is just a huge thing. Find someone you respect that's really faithful and go talk to them. See how they got there. They said it's not going to happen overnight, and it's really helpful if your spouse is on board.
Right.
Your kids will appreciate it. It's okay to turn everything off, shut everything down, and just take stock in everything. Even we were talking about, talking a lot about faith, talking a lot about my cancer. And people have asked me, what does it take to do what I did? And I said, it's not one thing, it's everything. So I had excellent insurance. I had disability insurance because I've been self-employed forever. So if I fall off a ladder, I want to make sure I have some income. Life insurance, health insurance. I get the best health insurance. So I go to Emory for all my surgeries. I get the best doctors in the world. And I go to Northside Forsyth for my oncology. And I've got probably the best doctor in the world over there. Small deductible, everything 100% after that. So had I done one of these policies where you knock your monthly payment down a little bit, but you pay 20%, well over $2 million, you're talking about $400,000. You're going to end up bankrupting your family before you die.
Right.
So life insurance, health, pay the, look at that stuff. So as a man, if you look at your family, if you died today, what would happen to them? Are they going to be okay? And get some life insurance. They'll be okay. There's ways to figure it out. I know you know.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you need to get two kids through? So your wife doesn't have to work, so you can stay in the house that the kids are used to. They can go to the school that they've been going to, and then go to college.
Right. And no one wants to talk about it. Nobody. It's the hardest.
Well, no one ever thinks they're going to die, and no one ever thinks, and it's human nature. You just don't think about it. But the two most certain things on earth, if you're born, you're going to die.
Like you say, we're all terminal, right?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the funny things is when I came to terms with terminal, and I'm like, I guess I've always been terminal, and so are you, But you never know. Cancer is a funny thing. I mean, there was a guy, a friend of mine, who he was diagnosed stage 2 throat cancer, same time as me, supposedly treatable. And they buried him last September. He didn't make it. So you never know. Stage 2 can kill you as quick as stage 4.
Wow.
So lately I've been just having trouble coming to terms with the fact that I am where I am. I've been in the battle for so long that it's hard to shift gears back into, I'm not fighting cancer anymore. I mean, right. I still have the last surgery was to remove the rectum. And what they do when they do that is they just cut your intestines and they seal the bottom side, close it up, and then they run your intestines through your belly, and then you put an ostomy bag on. So you catch the crap basically in the bag, and then you can empty it occasionally. It's not that big a deal. And then hopefully 3 months later, they go back in and reattach when the tissues have had time to heal.
Right.
Unfortunately, because of the radiation and because of the previous surgeries, I had some scar tissue down there that didn't heal up right. So now we're waiting another 3 months. At the end of February, we'll do 2 more tests to see if everything is good. And in the meantime, I'm doing 40 hyperbaric treatments. So I'm still doing treatments, but not for cancer necessarily. I'm just trying to put things back the way they were.
Right. Yeah. Tell me about the hyperbaric treatments. What is that?
Interesting stuff. It was developed to help with radiation damage because radiation just does so much damage, more so than chemo. It's way more brutal than chemo.
Yeah, my grandmother has gone through that, and she's going through that now. I know what that's like.
I've done both, and I radiation. I don't like radiation at all.
Because it just destroys like tissue and.
Yeah, the side effects are just horrific. And I only did 5. I did 5 super treatments. They gave me a choice: 30 little guys over a month or 5 super treatments. I'll do the
What
5.
is Jim Logan going to go with?
Yeah, let's
The
get
big
it
one.
done, But no, they've done so much damage and tissue damage, so they put you in the hyperbaric chamber, and it's basically a tube, a plexiglass plastic tube, and they slide you in, close it, seal it, put you under, I think it's 2.5 atmospheres of pressure, which is similar to going up in a jet, 30,000 feet. You feel your ears popping
Is it
and
like
all
a
that.
gradual?
Yeah, they gradually bring it up to pressure, like 15 minutes or whatever to
Okay.
get there. Your ears pop like you're going up a mountain or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then once you achieve that pressure point, they fill the cabin with 100% oxygen, and I breathe 100% oxygen for 2 hours.
What does that feel like?
It doesn't feel like much of anything. The biggest thing most people struggle with is the claustrophobia, and once you're locked in there, it's 20 minutes to get out.
It's pretty tight.
Well, to decompress, they can't just open the door. They have to decompress and then open the door.
Right.
It's super tight. Yeah. So I'm laying in there. There's this much space to the top of the tube. It's a nice hospital bed. There's some blankets and whatnot. They got a TV right there. You could watch TV, whatever you want to do, But I don't have a problem with stuff like that. At first, I didn't want to do this at all. And when I went to my first chemotherapy session, I sat on the park bench in front of the building and almost didn't go in. I almost said, fuck this. I'm just going to ride it out. I'm not going to fucking wither away and have them take me apart piece by piece and die, a 100-pound skeleton. And then I thought better of it and went in. But I was scared at first. But over time, after all they've done to me, I feel like a lab rat is like, what do you got? Bring it on. I
Yeah,
don't
you
care
kind of
anymore.
just become hardened
You
to
become
it over
numb.
time.
Yeah, you become numb to kind of all of it. So fortunately, I'm very vascular. So when they try to poke me with stuff, they're all like, I'm a phlebotomist dream,
Oh yeah, well look, you going into it 8% body fat.
I'll tell you
prior
this
to-
too. You talk about what it takes to be cancer. Well, a lot of it depends on how you come into it. I came into it super healthy, and I took 12 chemotherapy treatments in a row. It's almost unheard of. Most people drop out. Some people real quick. Some people because there's guidelines, and your blood can't go below certain levels. White blood cells, this, that, and once your blood doesn't look right, they'll refuse your treatment because the chemo will kill you at that point. I was able to do 12 treatments in a row, which is probably what helped kill all the tumors in my liver because I was able to sustain that regimen. One of the things I was able to do was maintain my lean muscle mass.
Right.
So a lot of people lay on the couch, eat crappy food, and just suffer. I continued to exercise. I ate protein shakes. I drank whole milk, and I was able to maintain lean muscle mass. And research has shown if you can maintain your lean muscle mass and do a little bit of exercise, you extend your longevity by 40%.
Wow, 40%.
Yeah. So that was a no-brainer for me. I was like, okay, I can do that. And I understand how to build muscle. I understand the whole process. So that was a benefit to me. I actually had people say to me, after watching me do this all these years, they said, and they're like eating Mexican, smoking cigarettes. They're 200 pounds overweight. They're like, look at you, you're dying of cancer. I do nothing, and I'm over here healthy or whatever. I say, well, I think you're a little confused. You think I was doing this? You think I was living the healthy lifestyle to add years to my life? I'm doing it to add life to my years. It's not a matter of, I don't know anyone that does this is just to live longer. It was never, it's not a motivation.
Right.
But it's just how I like to spend my time. I get something out of it. So you talk about people being constantly connected. If I go over to Lake Lanier, Mary Alice Park, and I go for an hour-long swim, you don't bring your cell phone. You go out there by yourself. And that's one of the times I feel closest to God, even before my epiphany and surrender, is I'll swim out into the middle of that lake so far that nobody can hear you scream. Maybe you get back, maybe you don't. I always thought that's God's opportunity to pluck me if he wanted to, But there's something transcendental again in this process, because when you're swimming in the water, you got that sound, the whoosh of the water.
Right.
For an hour straight. And when you come out, it feels like a cleansing or something. Your just mind is clear.
It's such a long
Same on the
time.
bike. When you're doing something as mundane as just pedal, 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 pedal for hours. I don't use music, except when I'm running. I use music because I don't like running. But I usually keep my mind empty so that I can have thoughts. But I mean, if you say, you go for how many people put their phone down for 4 hours and just don't, and then you just you'd be surprised what your mind does when you give it a chance.
Right.
How you kind of reorganize your thoughts and maybe solve a few problems or just go through some things in your head. Whereas if you have the headphones on, you're listening to the music, you're not taking the opportunity to do the thinking.
Right. Yeah, because you're being stimulated another way.
Yeah, so you're distracted. And I think that's a problem for a lot of people is there's too many distractions and too many people focusing on things that don't matter. I mean, I literally don't care about money at all anymore. I mean, if my book sold millions of copies, I'd be happy, but I'd probably give a lot of it to charity. But I doubt that's going to happen. I think it'll help a few people. I'm not going to get rich off of anything at this point, but I'm rich in other ways that can't be measured and ways that can't be duplicated because it took me a lifetime to develop, what I have.
Right. So how would you encourage other people that really it's so many people, including myself, a lot of times, like you worry about money, like because our society's built on it. We have to have enough to do this and that. How do you find that healthy balance for the folks of like, you've got to work. It
helps if your wife makes a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
I'm very fortunate that Kelly has always been also kind of a self-employed entrepreneur type. She works like crazy. She's in real estate. There's ups and there's downs, but she loves what she does and she makes a pretty good living. So that's kind of helpful. When Luke was little though, the first 5 years I told her just stay home with Luke. Again, I knew back then that those times are pretty critical. If you can get a child, especially through the first 5 years, it's hard for me to imagine, and I know people have to do what they have to do, but to take we tried to take an 8-week-old baby to a daycare and just leave the baby there. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So I told Kelly, I said, quit your job. I said, well, when he goes to kindergarten, you can go back to work. And then there was another period of time, I think Luke was probably like 8 or 10 years old, where Kelly had a little bit of a career crisis. And she had jobs she didn't really like, and she thought these people were going to fire her at this meeting. And I said, no, they're not. Here's what you do. You pull the takeaway. You quit. You walk into that meeting and hand them your resignation. And she's like, then what? I was like, come home, take a few months, figure out what you want to do with your life. Like really think about how you want to spend your time. I'm fortunate. I'm a home inspector. I'm good at it. I enjoy doing it. I get paid to talk. Matter of fact, I get paid to walk and talk.
Right.
You're lucky I'm not walking because you'd be getting an invoice.
Right. Yeah.
Talking is free. If I'm walking, now I got to charge you. But I've been fortunate that I love what I do, and I've heard before. You don't get rich being a home inspector. You make a good living. It's a lot of responsibility. And I've often told people, it's like, okay, so it sounds like a fun job, right? What if I go do a house and there's a $4,000 chimney problem that I missed? Guess what they want? $4,000. Guess what they paid me? $400. That's a lot of liability.
Right.
You got to be on point, So, and I don't know anybody that gets a paycheck from a company and then 6 months later they come back and go, yeah, we decided you did crap work that week. We're taking that paycheck back.
Right. That's the hard part about being a business owner is somebody's going to foot that bill.
Oh, I would say, business, people think business is, collecting money is maybe the most difficult thing. Fortunately, in home inspection, people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. So writing a check for $400 or $500 is no big deal. I've been fortunate in my business that, I marketed a little bit back in 96, maybe a year or two. And ever since then, it's just been all word of mouth referrals. So I make an impression on people in the few hours that we spend together, and they keep my number for decades.
And that's a testament to who you are and why so many people I know are going to be excited for the book and all the things that you're
so the
getting
book
into doing.
The book title ended up being Just Keep Trying.
Right.
TRI-ING. And the way it came around to it was that after the diagnosis and things weren't going well, and I'm doing these triathlons, I'm doing miserable. I'm just not doing well at all, but I kept trying. And through that process of continuing to try led me to the surrender and my epiphany and my turn. And then I kept not only trying in general, but doing triathlons. For me, that's my venue. For someone else, it could be something else. It could be golf. It could be whatever you're passionate about, whatever makes you feel good. Then go do that for as long as you can do it. And if you can figure out a way to do it and benefit other people in the process, even better. So I thought, writing the book, sharing the philosophies, sharing the mindset, And the plan is to give hope to the hopeless, faith to the faithless. And what I've said is, if you have faith, you have hope. And if you have hope, anything is possible, which is the Ironman motto. So I'm putting this whole thing in a nice little bow, you know?
Right.
And I think the book will be pretty good. So.
Well, I wanted to also ask you, there was something that we talked about before the show. It was something to do, I forget the actual saying that you had it packaged together all nicely, and I'm going to butcher it, but it was something about your wealth is tied to how you spend your time and who you spend it with.
What I said is that if I wanted to break it down and say, what have you truly learned from all of this, is that there are only two things that really matter. And, you know, people talk about, and I've struggled with this myself, what's more important, the journey or the destination? Well, I figured it out. Life is the journey. The destination is heaven. Mm-hmm. You think your destination is, when I retire, I'm going to get a sailboat and move to the Keys. That's part of the journey. That's not the destination. The only destination that matters is heaven. And that's the rest of it. All of life is the journey. And when you talk about the journey, it's more important the destination of heaven. If you're basing your destination on in your lifetime, that's not a good thing to do, because you get lost in that in the day to day. So really, all you have is the days, and what matters is people and time, and it's who you spend, how you spend your time and who you spend it with. That's pretty much going to determine your life. If you're around like-minded people that lift you up, not bring you down, and you continue to move in that direction, you'll continue to move up that scale in life of understanding. And so the people you spend your time with, if there's people in your life that are toxic or not good for you, I'd suggest you eliminate them, as hard as that may be. You got to protect yourself, you got to protect your family and your children, and you don't need that negative element. You know, not to say they could change and work their way back in, but you got to cut them out like cancer. So right. The people you spend your time with, nothing more important than the person you marry, whether it's a husband or a wife, vice versa. Is like, that makes all the difference. And I can't tell you how many people I know that are divorced once or twice and alone now and not very, very happy, you know. And it's a sad thing. And I feel fortunate that Kelly and I have been able to get stronger and stronger through every obstacle.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So as you look back on your life, are there ways or periods of time where you wish you would have spent your time differently, or things you would have done more
I said
of?
I was pretty fortunate when Luke was born, and we adopted Luke. So I was 40 when Luke was born, and we were having trouble getting pregnant, and we didn't want to do all that scientific stuff. I was like, we'll just go and adopt a child, and we've told Luke from the day Kelly was in the delivery room, cut the umbilical cord, so we were right there. She actually went out and lived with the birth mom. She's 18 years old, went to college, got pregnant. Rather than an abortion, decided to do adoption, and she chose us to raise her son. We're still in touch with the birth mom. Luke knows about everything. Wow. And I told Luke from the time he could listen that God sent you to me, because I'm uniquely skilled to raise you.
That's amazing.
So he's really content with all that. But I knew early on, I was old enough and wise enough to know. And I said I could be Luke's grandfather. I'm 2 generations away.
Right.
I could have had him at 20, not 40. So there's a little bit of a gap there. But I knew enough that, again, I tell you, the only little for a little while. So I pretty much drove Luke to school every day, back and forth. And a lot of people are like, I know a lot of parents do that, but people are like, wow, that seems like a lot of time. Is like, well, it's quality time. It's me and him in a small confined space. I don't turn the radio on. Sometimes he would sit quietly. Other times he would say, hey, Dad, this is happening at school. What do you think I should do? That's priceless.
Right.
That time together, going to school and from school, even in silence. There was many times he had his friends in the back, and moms would say, can you pick up so-and-so? Because they knew I was there, and I don't mind picking them up. But the kids would sit in the back, and they're just talking like I can't hear. And I'm hearing what's going on, you know? So, well, Luke was always so honest, like to the point where, when I was a kid, if you were honest, you got your ass kicked. So I'm not giving up any information to get my ass kicked. So I always told Luke, is like, of all the things you could do, lying to me is the worst. So just don't do that. Whatever the issue is, we'll kind of deal with it. So it came to a time where he was like 14 or 15, and they're having their little girlfriends and whatever. And he's like, Dad, everyone's sneaking out tonight. Can I sneak out? I was like, well, first of all, if you tell me, you're not sneaking.
Right.
But he's always been a good kid. He doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. He's a leader in his little friend group, and we're pretty proud of him. So it's worked out pretty nice. But it's always kind of funny when people look at him and say, "Oh, I see the resemblance." We're like, "No, you don't."
Right.
No, you don't.
Right. Yeah, not knowing the backstory.
Yeah,
you know.
but I
that's
always
funny.
share stuff like most people are like, well, you don't have to say you're adopted, or I share my cancer with almost anybody that I talk to, because more often than not, when you do, someone will say, oh my God, I was adopted, or I know this person who was adopted, or anyone you talk to knows someone that's had or has cancer. It's epidemic at this point.
Right.
So, but I just think talking about stuff makes it helps. It helps me. Writing the book has been, really important for me psychologically. And it's funny because I'm using a ghost author who I got assigned, from this publishing company that I chose to help me write the book. And it turns out she's from Cumming.
No way.
They've got an international network. It could have been anywhere.
Right.
She's over in Vickery. And she goes to Brownsbridge.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I was like, we talk about this stuff. It's like, you think that's all these things keep happening to me. I was talking about doing podcasts and what am I going to do? How am I going to get on podcasts? And then you call and say, hey, you want to be on my podcast? I was
Right.
so, you put it out there, and you'd be surprised how, some people I say, well, that's not God working. Is like, well, I believe it is. Because I've already seen too much. One thing is one thing. 20 things is another freaking thing.
Right.
And it's not stopping. And I'm so excited to see what's next. And, 2026 is going to be the year of the book, the year of the Ironman. I know I'll have some medical challenges. I'm not sure what those will be, but, day by day. And I'm sure God has a plan, and I hope it ends on that finish line.
Absolutely. I have faith that you will. I have faith that you will. So you've got the book. Do you have a soft release date? Kind of give us a timeline. When's
it's
that
probably
happen?
going to be the spring.
Okay.
It'll probably be spring, because we're about 3/4 of the way through it, and then it's got to go through some editing and some different production stuff that they got to work out, and then I got to figure out how to launch the book, and so I'm learning a lot, because I'm not an author and I'm not a publisher, and all this stuff is brand new to me. So it's the excitement of life. I'm still doing a couple home inspections here and there, but I don't really. It's not a lot, because I feel like I'm transitioning to another place where once the book is out and hopefully finish this Ironman race, that I could then go and, I don't know, maybe do some motivational speaking or some counseling for some. I like working with the young ones, these teenagers and early 20s that seem just kind of lost. You wonder why you're not happy. You don't have a purpose. If you don't know why you're getting up in the morning, that's baffling to me.
Right.
It's
Right.
and it's just a matter of setting goals, even little ones. Just make your bed. Get up at 6 o'clock, make your bed.
Right.
Get up early, work hard. And I like people talk about all these diets and diet pills and all this stuff to lose weight. And you need a special program, and how to move a little more, eat a little less, get a good night's sleep. And I'll give you the diet. You can eat chicken, steak, or fish. And you can eat fruits and vegetables. Drink water and electrolytes.
Is that what you do to stay?
Pretty much. Just keep it so simple.
Right.
Now, I move a lot.
Right.
but you don't have to move a lot to be fit. So lots of research on, just walking 30 minutes a day can add 10 years to your life. 30 minutes. And, again, we've become so sedentary with TVs and screens and different things. People don't go outside that often. So as a home inspector, when we were kids, we played football in the street. We played hockey. We played baseball. They'd scream, car coming. Everybody would run to the side.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And but now you go into these neighborhoods, big houses, lots of kids, and nobody's outside. Nobody's riding bikes and throwing baseballs and breaking the neighbor's window and freaking out because you broke a window,
Right.
which is no big deal. I'd love to see my window broken by a kid throwing a baseball.
Yeah, that means they're outside and
yeah,
not
doing
playing
stuff. So
on
I know
their
it's a
iPad.
different time, different generation. And nothing's going to be like it was, but I think, like I said, what the Ironman Foundation does and just getting outside and doing stuff. There's so much in the Ironman, or just in picking a goal and achieving it, like a 5K. So I tell people all the time, it's like, you don't have to be an Ironman. You could sign up for a charity 5K. First of all, the money goes to charity. You're going to get a T-shirt and sometimes a medal. You can walk it in less than an hour, and you get around like-minded people. You'd be surprised who you meet.
Right.
And I think God's always putting people in your path, but you got to say hello.
Absolutely.
If you don't say hello, I say hello to everyone I make eye contact with, and we'll see where it goes.
Right. That's an amazing philosophy to have,
Yeah.
man, because you really never know. You know, that's what a lot of this, the whole mission behind this show is to
Yeah.
hear that exact thing from people like you, right? Like your walk of life looks different than the last person that
yeah.
was in here, same as the person before them.
Yeah.
But the whole premise of that is like this life is not meant to be lived by ourselves.
Yeah.
Because when the chips are down and we will have struggles,
Yeah.
you're a testament to that.
Yeah.
Everyone's life is a testament to that. What fires me up is about how we need to be more connected as people.
Yeah.
That's why the name of this show is Connections, because somebody listening to something, I don't care if it's one person, is going to draw something out of what you've said. There's something that could help somebody, and just talking about it. We're such a closed off, like everything happens behind a phone these days, and there's I talk about social media a lot, and yes, like there's great things that happen with it. I'm not undermining that, but there is a lot that has changed when it comes to the ability to just actually
communicate.
Communicate
I've
with
noticed
each
with
other.
the kids, like my son's age, communication is a little off. Like not being able to read body language
It's
because
almost a jokingly.
they're texting all the time.
Yeah.
I saw something, a little research that said texting raises stress levels. Talking on the phone raises person to person, face to face, has all kinds of benefits, hormonally and all these different things that happen in your body when you're close to someone. They even did some research that if you were a witness to two people greeting each other and they're greeting each other happily, like Allison and Kelly when they see each other, you think they've been separated in a Turkish prison for 30 years. He's like screaming, yelling, crying, hugging. That you also benefit from that. Oxytocin, your brain. You see someone having that loving moment, you as a bystander benefit from that as well.
Mm.
So yeah, getting together, and your wife made a beautiful post the other day about this very thing, and I wrote well said. So, getting the kids out, playing with the cousins, making sure you make the effort to do that, so they have those good communication skills, because so many don't.
Mm. Well, you got any closing wisdom for us? Any thoughts to carry us on into 2026?
I would say if you have faith, you have hope, and if you have hope, anything's possible. I'm living proof of it. I'm not done yet, and I'm excited to see what happens next. I'm excited to have you review my book and see what you think of it, and I really appreciate this opportunity. And I guess what I would say is what I said to you earlier. If you really just want to keep it very, very simple, it's about time and people, who you spend your the people you surround yourself with, and how you spend your time and who you spend it with. And if you really want to be content, I think the only way is through a deep faith, which is a blind faith. I couldn't see the future when this thing started in April of 24. I could not see me here today, but I'm here today. You have to go right through the middle of it, right through the fire, and it'll either consume you or you'll walk out a new person. I walked out a new person.
Wow.
So don't be afraid. Have faith. God's got you. Just worry about today. Do what you have to do today. With all that said, you still got to do the work. You can't be lazy, because you're not going to be rewarded for, God. There's no place in the Bible where it said things are going to be easy. So if it's hard, then you're probably on the right path. So that's how I think of it. When my life gets difficult, I think, okay, if it's for a good reason, then I'm on the right path.
Right.
If your life is easy, you're probably not going to get much out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for your time and for just being so open and honest about your story. And I can't wait to see what God's going to do through your life in this next year. And I can't wait to see you across the finish line, my friend.
Fantastic. Absolute pleasure.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, I loved it. That was great.